I remember the moment like it was frozen in time. We were seated in a beautiful upscale restaurant in downtown Augusta. The occasion: my daughter Amelia's college graduation, a milestone we had waited years to celebrate. The room buzzed with chatter, laughter, the clink of silverware against fine china. Family, friends, old neighbors. 50 people gathered to honor Amelia's success. And then Gregory, my husband of 28 years, stood up. Champagne glass in hand, he smiled. I expected a proud father's toast, something touching and warm. Instead, what came out of his mouth flipped my world upside down. "I've decided to start a new life without you." Just like that. No warning. No lead-up. That one sentence dropped like a stone in the middle of what should have been our daughter's happiest day. The room fell silent. All movement stopped. Conversations hung mid-sentence. Every single head turned toward us. 50 pairs of eyes. All waiting for my reaction. For the meltdown, the tears, the scene they could whisper about later. But I didn't give them what they came for. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't storm out. Smiled. And then I said, as calmly as if I were complimenting the wine, "Thank you for your honesty. My name is Bianca Morgan. I'm 54. And until about 5 minutes ago, I was the woman who held her family together. The dependable wife, the supportive mother, the quiet background figure who never asked for much." I looked at my daughter, Amelia, sitting beside me. Her graduation cap still tilted slightly from the ceremony. Her face was pale. Frozen. She hadn't seen it coming either. Across the room, at the far end of the long table, sat her, Cassandra Wells. She looked down at her plate, trying to disappear into the linen tablecloth. Blonde, polished, and at least 15 years younger than me, Cassandra had once called me for career advice. She'd attended our holiday parties, smiled at me like a friend. And now she was seated among people I'd known for decades, many of whom I now realized must have known about the affair, and said nothing. My fingers moved with practiced calm. I reached into my handbag, pulled out a small cream-colored envelope, thick, sealed, deliberate, and placed it gently on the table beside Gregory's wine glass. "What's this?" he asked, his confident smirk faltering. "Something for you to read later," I said softly. Then I turned to Amelia. I kissed her cheek, held her gaze. "I am so proud of you, sweetheart. No matter what's happening, this day still belongs to you." Then I stood, adjusted my dress, and turned to the room. "Please," I said to the crowd, "enjoy the meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." And I walked out, slowly with my chin high, not as a woman broken, but as a woman finally finished pretending. The restaurant doors closed behind me. And just like that, the woman I had been for 28 years was gone. Outside, the Georgia summer air hit me like a wall, thick, hot, and real. But for the first time in years, I welcomed it. Could breathe. Really breathe. Then behind me I heard the restaurant door slam open. "Bianca, what the hell is this?" Gregory's voice, no longer smug but shrill and panicked. I didn't turn around. Instead, I walked calmly down the sidewalk, the sound of my heels echoing with purpose. A small smile tugged at my lips. Because that envelope, that wasn't just a symbolic gesture. That envelope held the beginning of something I had been planning for months. You see, Gregory always saw himself as the visionary, the dreamer, the risk-taker. And I was the stability, the sacrifice, the safety net. When he jumped ship from job to job chasing fulfillment, I worked overtime to keep the mortgage paid. When he sank money into his friend's failing restaurant, I covered Amelia's tuition from my own retirement savings. When he quit his stable position to follow his passion, building custom furniture which lasted less than half a year, I picked up the slack again and again. And every time I thought, just wait, let him find himself. After Amelia graduates, then maybe I'll get my turn. That turn never came. 3 months ago I noticed something odd while checking our finances. Tiny transfers. Recurring. Dripping away like a leaky faucet. into an account I didn't recognize. Most wives might have shrugged it off. But I've been a senior financial analyst for over 2 decades. And I knew exactly what I was looking at. A betrayal that was no longer emotional, it was strategic. And that's when I stopped waiting. I started preparing. I could have confronted him the moment I found the transfers. But I didn't. Instead I chose silence, patience, precision. Because something told me this wasn't just a fling. It was a plan. And if Gregory was planning his escape, I would plan mine better. I began collecting the digital breadcrumbs he left behind. Every transfer, every charge, every time he claimed we couldn't afford something, only to take Cassandra to upscale restaurants or order jewelry online under a different billing name. And then the jackpot. One morning he left his phone on the counter while showering. A message popped up. Cassandra, I can't believe we'll finally be together after tomorrow. She has no idea. Gregory, she'll be blindsided. But it's better this way. After the graduation I'll make the announcement. Public setting, she won't cause a scene. That was the moment I stopped hurting and started preparing to win. Because Gregory had forgotten one thing. He was the dreamer. But I was the expert. For 30 years I'd helped businesses trace hidden money trails, protect assets, and close loopholes others missed. And I hadn't forgotten the prenup, the one he insisted we signed decades ago when I had more family money than he did. I remember the line he had argued for. Just in case something ever happens, it's smart to include a fidelity clause. Ironic, because that clause was now going to cost him everything. The morning of Amelia's graduation, I woke up before sunrise. Gregory was already downstairs, humming as he shaved, like he had no idea the foundation beneath his life was about to crack. I made coffee. I even smiled when he handed me my cup. You'd never guess I had already filed divorce papers that morning. Quietly, through my attorney, with evidence of financial misconduct and infidelity attached. I timed it carefully. The filing wouldn't show up in public records until late afternoon. He'd be blindsided, just as he planned for me. But unlike Gregory, I wasn't looking to humiliate. I was aiming for something far more powerful. Control. While he gave his speech, or rather his breakup announcement, I watched everything unfold without a word. I let him believe he had won. I let him believe I was still the obedient, speechless wife. And when I placed that envelope beside his plate, I knew exactly what it contained. Copy of the divorce papers. A financial breakdown of all his hidden transfers. Evidence of his affair. And a post-it marked. Section 12 of our prenup. The clause that stated any extramarital relationship, emotional or physical, would immediately void his claim to our shared estate. He had signed it. His attorney had advised it. And now, it was mine to enforce. I left the restaurant not as a broken wife, but as a woman done being disposable. 3 hours later I heard his car pull into the driveway. Tires screeched. The front door slammed open like a man still pretending he held the power. "Bianca!" he barked from the foyer, voice echoing through our home. "Where are you?" I was seated in the living room, composed, laptop closed, tea in hand. He stormed in, clutching the envelope I'd left him, face flushed with disbelief. "You served me with divorce papers today. On our daughter's graduation." I didn't flinch. "I thought the timing was perfect," I said evenly. "You wanted a new life. I'm simply making the transition more efficient. You had no right to." "I had every right," I cut in. "Just like you had every right to choose Cassandra." His mouth opened but no words came. "You moved money behind my back," I continued, my voice calm, measured. "You signed a lease for a beachfront apartment. You made plans for a new life and invited me to watch mine implode at a family celebration. So no, don't talk to me about rights." He scoffed. "The prenup expired years ago. It won't hold up." Smiled small but sharp. "Actually, it didn't. Section 12. The fidelity clause remains enforceable for the duration of the marriage. You really should have read it more carefully. Or at least consulted a lawyer." His face fell. The prenup he had demanded to protect his future. Now the very rope tightening around his financial neck. The house, the retirement, the vacation property. You just handed it all to me, I said quietly. His hands trembled. He collapsed onto the couch, suddenly deflated. You're cold, he muttered. You've always been calculated. No, I corrected. I've always been smart. You just never noticed. Not long after Gregory fell silent on the couch. His phone buzzed again. I didn't have to ask. I knew it was her. Cassandra. He glanced at the screen, then shoved it back into his pocket like a child caught cheating on a test. She's at the apartment already, he muttered. She moved her stuff in today. I raised my eyebrows. The apartment you leased under both your names last month? He nodded slowly, confused. You may want to double-check with the leasing office, I said. That application was flagged. Credit issues. I got the call to verify the details. I told them it wouldn't be moving forward. His face turned pale. You cancelled it, he whispered. No, Gregory. You cancelled it, when you lied on the forms and used our home phone for confirmation. I just answered honestly. Before he could respond, I picked up the small overnight bag I had packed earlier. I'll be staying at Diana's for the night. My sister, he snapped. Yes. She's the one who saw you and Cassandra together last Christmas, remember? She gave you a chance to come clean. You lied. So she told me. His jaw clenched. His world, this shiny new fantasy he'd built, was starting to crumble. Everyone's turning on me, he muttered under his breath. Ironic, isn't it? I said, walking toward the door. You built a house of cards and expected me to be the last to fall. He called after me, one last attempt to regain control. What about Amelia? Have you thought about how this affects her? Stop. Turned halfway. Did you think about her? When you planned your big public betrayal on her graduation day. When you lied to her face and told her how proud you were, while packing your bags behind her back. He didn't answer. So I left him there, alone in the mess he made. Diana welcomed me into her warm little bungalow with a fierce hug and a glass of wine already waiting. She didn't ask questions, she already knew. We sat in her sunroom, surrounded by potted plants and old novels, the evening light casting quiet shadows as I told her everything. About the affair, the money, the apartment, and most importantly, the prenup. She chuckled bitterly. The very document he once demanded, poetic justice. I had just finished explaining the details when my phone buzzed. Amelia. Her voice was tight. Mom, I'm on my way to Aunt Diana's. You don't have to, sweetheart. I'm fine. I already left. Dad's telling people you've lost your mind. He's spinning everything like you ambushed him. Course he was. Gregory had always been the victim in his own stories. 20 minutes later she arrived. Still in her graduation dress, mascara smudged, eyes red from crying. She didn't speak at first. She just collapsed into my arms, like she used to when she was little and the nightmares felt real. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered. I didn't want to ruin your moment, I said gently. You worked so hard for this. She pulled back and wiped her cheeks. Well, Dad made sure to ruin it anyway. We sat together and I told her everything. No more filters, no more shielding. The affair. The hidden accounts. The beachfront dream he tried to build on stolen trust. I knew something was off, she said. He was always distant. On his phone. But I never thought. Before she could finish, the doorbell rang. Diana answered. Her face stiffened when she returned. It's Gregory, she said. And he's not alone. Gregory stepped into the living room first, shoulders tense, jaw tight. And behind him trailed Cassandra, looking far less radiant than usual, her eyes darting like a trapped animal. Bianca, Gregory started. This has gone far enough. I didn't stand. You need to unfreeze the accounts, he continued. Let's be reasonable. We can work this out like adults. Before I could answer, Amelia stood between him and me. Work this out, she snapped. You humiliated my mom in front of everyone today. You broke up our family. On my day. Gregory blinked, surprised. Amelia, this doesn't concern you. Her eyes flared. Doesn't concern me. You blew up our lives at my graduation lunch. Don't you dare say this doesn't involve me. Cassandra shifted uncomfortably. Greg, maybe we should. No, he snapped. I'm not leaving until we come to an understanding. Diana folded her arms. Funny. The only person being rational here is Bianca. You're the one who torched your marriage in public. Gregory turned back to me. You're freezing me out. For what? One mistake. I stood slowly, keeping my voice calm. This wasn't a mistake. It was a year-long deception. You moved money, lied to our daughter, and planned to leave me in front of 50 people like it was a performance. He looked stunned. I thought we'd both move on, he said. Amelia turned to Cassandra. Did you know he planned to announce it like that? Cassandra swallowed. I thought he was going to speak to your mom privately. That wasn't what I expected. Gregory shot her a glare. Cracks formed in their little fantasy. Diana pointed toward the door. You've done enough damage today. It's time you both leave. Gregory's voice grew louder. This isn't over, Bianca. I met his eyes and said with unwavering calm, You're welcome to try. Gregory left. Well, fine. Cassandra trailing behind him without a word. The moment the door clicked shut, Amelia sank onto the couch beside me, eyes glassy with emotion. I've never talked to Dad like that, she whispered. I wrapped an arm around her. Sometimes standing up for yourself doesn't feel good right away. But it's always the right thing. Diana handed us fresh glasses of wine. To new beginnings, she said. And for the first time in decades, I raised a glass not as a wife, not as a mother, but as myself. The preliminary hearing came just days later. Quiet courtroom. A stern judge. A flustered Gregory beside an underprepared attorney who specialized in corporate law, not family disputes. The prenuptial agreement held. The evidence was airtight. The ruling was swift. Kept the house, our vacation property, the majority of our investments. His business was failing without my financial guidance. And Cassandra? She'd already left. Word was, she'd moved on to a real estate developer with better prospects. Gregory was left with his personal account, a leased apartment, and a narrative he could no longer control. Poetic, really, the very contract he once insisted on had become the sword he fell on. 6 months later, Caldwell Financial Transitions opened its doors. My dream consultancy, designed to help women navigate financial independence after divorce, loss, or major life change. I started with 2 clients, then 5, then 20. Word spread fast. Amelia visited often, beaming with pride. You're helping people survive what we just lived through, she told me. I'm giving them what I wish I had earlier, I replied. A reminder that their worth isn't tied to what they sacrifice. And Gregory, he called me once months later. Quiet, tired. I made a mistake, he said. Is there any chance? I didn't hesitate. No. That door is closed. He paused. I hope you find happiness, Bianca. You deserve it. And for the first time in a long time I believed it. Because what started as revenge ended in reinvention. I didn't just reclaim my finances. I reclaimed myself.